Hello, everybody. Welcome back to X-Plane 11 once again. My name is Jeff Faviano. Today we're going to check out the MU-2 Marquise, and this is by X-Aviation. You can purchase this for $34.95. I was not given a copy of this airplane. I bought it myself so I could give you my impressions. This is not a review like my last video. This is just a first impressions. I'm just firing it up. I have very minimal time in these airplanes, but I did learn how to start them and all that, and we can go flying and see what they're all about. The number one thing I really don't like about this airplane so far is the sounds. Other than that, it's unlike any other airplane I've ever flown in my life. It is squirrely. It is very unforgiving, I've got to say. But with that said, let's walk around the exterior model. The model is actually quite nice. And to get into the airplane, we will go through the cabin. It does have a cabin, so let's go ahead and walk a little faster here. We can check out the airplane from this view. We are in Punta Gorda, Florida, and we are going to fly up to Tampa. I don't have any Tampa scenery, but I think the scenery gateway with X-Plane 11 will have something there that is not too terrible. One thing you have to get used to in this airplane is the wingtip tanks, the fuel tanks. And I think that it says in the documentation they can't be over 150 pounds above the other side's wingtip tank as well. So fuel is one big thing. I try to zero everything out as neutral as possible. And I think we have about 2 hours of flight time fuel on board. The texture work is actually quite fantastic. I do like it, except for this little detail here. I mean, some of these are a little bit lower detail, whenever this right here looks quite nice. So something along those lines. Nothing too crazy to be like, oh my God, this is the best looking plane I've ever seen. But this is the new version of the MU-2 that has been updated for X-Plane 11. And let's hop up in here. It's the XS. Okay. We have some luggage there. Nah, it's pretty crude looking. Let's be honest. That looks pretty crude. All right, let's go ahead and try to grab this door. Can we grab this door from here? I think we can. Grab that door from here. Nope. I think we're going to have to do it from over here, actually. Let's try this. If I can just see the handle, I can get the door. There it is right there. And it doesn't look like they're going to let me do it. Why? Why are you going to be this much of a pain in the butt? There it is right there. Okay, there it goes. And then we have to hurry up through it. There we go. We figured it out. And here we are inside the cabin, the main cabin. Pretty 70s-ish. I mean, the MU-2 is an old airplane. And the texture work in here is just not the greatest thing for a $34.95 price tag. However, we won't be spending very much time back here anyway. I do have a few wing views set up. But yeah, this stuff needs to be very, this is 2017. We need higher resolution in these cabins. I understand maybe they're trying to work for better frame rates and stuff like that. So that is to be expected. But here is the main cockpit. It doesn't scream like this is really, really, really intense texture work. It's pretty plain Jane, honestly, especially up here. I'd like to see this stuff a little bit higher quality than it is. Like I said, when it comes down to $34.95, that's a lot of money for an airplane. And we saw the texture work in the Piper Arrow recently, and it was pretty incredible stuff. So here, let's have a seat here in the cockpit. Look around. The MU-2 is quite interesting. It's got a light panel up here, anti-ice panel here. We've got wipers, landing lights. It does have retract landing lights on the nose. And then this is your cockpit lighting. All you need there. And then you need to know the main panels you need to know is this one here. These are avionics switches, if you're wondering, because it took me a long time to figure that out. This is the master battery switch right here. These are our generators, the inverter, and then we have the main fuel. So this is where you turn the fuel on, and when you shut the engine down, both engines actually, you will shut them down with these fuel switches right there. I don't know what this doo-doo-doo sound is. It's something new from Windows or something in the background, so bear with me. With that said, here's the autopilot panel. Haven't messed with that too much. And here we go. We have the starters here. So you need to have this in air start and safe in the middle. And then you'll go left side when we start the first engine, and then the right side there. SRL is single red line. Is that what it is? I think something like that. Switches. And then these are the enrich switches, unfeather switches, run, crank, and stop. I think these have to be in crank mode. We'll get that in a second here. We will be doing very minimal checklist stuff today. Condition levers are fine here. This thing is a beast to taxi. If you have these things in taxi, the condition levers like here, and you can see it resets the throttle there when I do that, it's quite difficult to control. So to taxi this thing, I click the reversers, and then I bring the reversers back here just a little bit, kind of like you would in beta with the King Air, and it keeps it under control a little bit. Flap lever right there. This is our air condition panel. I don't know what that sound is. It just keeps doing it. It keeps doing it, and I don't know what it is. So I do apologize for that. All right, let's get started. So cockpit check, static source select. Should be normal, static, and as you can see right there, we're on normal static source. That's good. Left panel switch here. We got landing gear switch. That is down. It doesn't look down, does it? Yeah, it's down. Yeah, it is down. Okay, so let's turn the master switch on. There we go. Down 3 green. Fantastic. Trim aileron switch. Guarded and safe. Right there. It's not even modeled, so you don't have to worry about it. Center pedestal condition levers are on taxi. Yes, they are. Let's double check that they are. Yep, they are. Power levers are flight idle. Let's bring them back to flight idle. They're right there. Yes, they are. All right. Run, crank, stop switches are in crank mode in the middle, like I had put there just a little bit ago. Air start and safe for the SRL. We already did that, or that thing down there. SRL switches are on. Right switch panel, cabin air selector switch. Now I have a nice little preset to come over here to this thing. Yeah, okay. NBC. Cabin air selector switch is in the off position. Manual pressure control valve, we want that full increase, so you would have it all the way to the right, which I do from a previous flight. Cabin altitude select knob, 1,000 above airport elevation, so we're at sea level for the most part, so we'll put it at 1,000. That could be wrong, but I'm just going to go with that. Cabin rate control knob will go to the minimum, so normally by default it's over here at the max. You should roll that over to the minimum. Side, landing light switches, those are up here. Here's our overhead panel. They are in the retract mode. Other switches are off. We have a beacon and a nav on. Altimeter, we can check and set that. 300. Whoa. Was it 4 or something like that earlier? I'll have to double check before we get out of here. Continuous ignition switches are in the off position. Those are right here. And that is pretty much our pre-flight. So if we want to, we can get these things going. We can turn these avionics switches on, and we can get our direct to. We're going to fly up to Tampa, like I said, so let's do that. Nope, not going to Opelika today. Let's go ahead and, it doesn't have scroll wheel support. That is kind of a bummer. Okay, K, and then we'll do Tampa. So we want, these are kind of difficult to get to. There we go, T, and then P. Come on, buddy. Come on. Oh, man, those are not fun to get to. Ooh, the sun is moving around in the sky. International right there. Activate that. It's not too far, 69 miles, and it's a fast airplane, so it won't take us long to get there, that's for sure. Engine start time. We're ready to fire this baby up. I don't know if you are, but I am. And yeah, the sun moved over here now. Now we can see the panel switches if we wanted to. We could turn those up. And it's got very nice night lighting in it. I do like that. And you can turn these up and these up. Copilot, instruments, overhead panels, radios. You can make them all look very nice. And we'll probably do that just for visual sakes here. It's quite dark in the airplane whenever the sun is behind you. So before engine start, checklist says master radio switches. They have those both off, but we're not worried about it. We're firing everything up here. Generator switches are off. Yes, they are. What else we have here? Inverter can go on. So it goes into the main mode. That looks good. Fuel switches are going to come on. So let's go open, auto. There we go. Fuel transfer switches are auto. That's what we just did. Center pedestal is showing condition levers and taxi. ground idle for power levers, run crank stop switches. We can go both to run here, run and run. That looks good. SRL switches are indeed on. Awesome. Time to start the engine. So to start the engine in this bad boy, start selector switch is going to go to left-hand ground first. We're going to start the left side first. And now we are going to start the engine. All you got to do to do that is hit these yellow buttons up here. So we're going to hit it, hold her down. I wait for that light to come on and then I release it. And we should have some rotation happening outside. Yep, there it goes. Awesome. That's what I like to see. That is coming to life, and we can see here on our gauges, we've got torque rising. There's that temperature. Fuel flow's good. RPM is coming up. Now with the MU-2, the props have to be flat when you start it. However, I didn't see anything in the checklist or anything that told me to do anything different than move these things into taxi. And I thought that if they had to be flat, they had to be facing full forward, but I don't know. The documentation is kind of hit and miss with that. I would like to see a better tutorial involved because it's kind of outdated with X-Plane 10 and we're on X-Plane 11, so it's kind of like, well, what am I supposed to do? All right, so that looks like a good engine start there. We can do the generator, so left generator comes on. That looks very nice. Now we go to the right-hand switch over that way. And we can start engine number 2. Remember, I hold it, wait for that light to come on, then I release it. So far, that hasn't failed me, so I've been doing that. All right, we do have the temperature rising there. We should have some movement out there eventually. We do have some wing views here. I'll show you. There's the left side and the right side. Nothing too great. Outside view, you can see everything's firing up just fine and dandy. Alrighty. We have some sounds. The sounds, like I said, you know, that's the biggest thing that's a letdown, in my opinion. All right, so that looks like a good engine start. We can turn that generator on like that. And start selector can go to air start and safe. All right, we have 2 good running engines here, as you can see. RPM's right around 70. That's where we want them to be. And we can click that guy and shut him up. He doesn't need to be telling us constantly. I don't know what these switches are right here. I assume they're the bleed air switches, but they're not labeled and they don't say in the tutorial, at least. I need to go through the actual manual and probably figure that out. Probably. All right. So now we're ready to taxi. So we can do, we have the master switches on here. We can turn that guy on for the Garmin. This guy's good. We're just going to be doing GPS direct to it, so not a big deal. All right. And master radio switches are on. Beacons on. Nav lights as required. All that stuff. Let's go to their overhead. We have nav beacon. We turn the taxi light on because we will be taxiing here shortly. And like I said, what I do personally to taxi this airplane without it being too crazy is I bring up those condition levers right there to the idle mode. You'll hear it come up a little bit in pitch sound, but this will prevent it from just launching like a rocket. And then what I do is I do light idle for that. I'll hit the reverser button and I'll bring these suckers back a little bit. But if you just have them about right here in reverse, it seems to do pretty good. So once that's good, we're going to go ahead and release the parking brake and we will start rolling forward. But you'll notice it didn't launch like a catapult, which is really nice because it normally does. I'm not going to lie. So taxiing this thing has been interesting to learn how to do. Flaps are up, so we'll go flaps 5. That's what we want for takeoff. And our trim, we want that to be right down here. We want it to be 5 degrees pitch up. So as you can see this little guy down here, there it is right there, the yellow. It was completely forward. We want to be 5 up, so about right where the green is. That looks good. Let's continue our taxi. We'll just taxi over here to runway 33. Where's the windsock at? It's down here on the right. We could probably get an idea of what to expect as far as winds go. And actually, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to look up the ATIS for Punta Gorda as we taxi out. All right, well, we don't have any ATIS here. We only have the ASIS, and it won't come up under 135675, what they say. So I'm just going to look at the METAR itself, and winds are 330 at 7 knots. So we're taxiing down here to runway 33. 7 knots, 10 statute miles of visibility, few clouds, 3,900 scattered at 4,900 broken, 6,000. Altimeter 3001. So I was close on that guy. Oh, 3001. There we go. That looks good. And one thing I wanted to talk about was the GPS integration. So these buttons here on the left side are all dead. They're absolutely dead. Everything here underneath is fine. This is all working here, but this you can't do. And I tried, you know, thinking it was maybe my my angle that I was trying to, you know, grab those, and no, it still won't. The only way you can really mess with those options is by clicking the GPS, opening it up, and then you have control over that. That is something that was really overshadowed and, or whatever you want to say, overlooked. We can click this and have our yoke, which is pretty cool. The yoke, I've noticed, is on a different level than what I'm actually inputting. It seems like it's a little bit delayed. So that's interesting. We're almost down here to runway 4. We're going to go over here to 33. So there is that windsock. Beautiful. 33's over there. I did some flying the other day in the Calamita. I'm working on that. I'm gonna be doing a review video of that, or an impressions video of that one. It's the Kalamata, I think is how you say their name. F-18 Super Hornet for X-Plane 11. And I flew that in VR, and that thing was a ton of fun to fly. It's fly-by-wire, so it takes a while to get used to how you are supposed to fly that thing. All right, I think we're going to be pretty much ready to rock and roll here. So let's go ahead and flip those strobes on, and we can turn those landing lights on as well. There we go. And now we're looking like we're ready to go. Outside view. Not an F-mod sound. Like I said, it's one of the biggest letdowns of a turboprop like this. You would want to hear that prop wash. You would want to hear the beauty of those engines, and you don't get that at all, unfortunately. It's all the same sound from the outside view. That's something that, I mean, you know, a payware developer needs to take that into consideration, especially if you're making an airplane for X-Plane 11. If you don't have F-mod going, I don't know what to tell you. You're just way behind the times, dude. All right. Lining up on the runway here. It's a little bit of a chore to taxi this thing, I won't lie to you. And I've never used the autopilot, so we're going to learn that together. That's going to be fun. We're going to hand fly on the way up, but you know how we do it. All right, so we're ready to take off here. Remember what the actual rotation speed on this airplane is. I think it's like 120. I'm kind of looking here. Oh, rotation's 105, so just about right there we'll be rotating the airplane. So lined up here, it looks good. Condition levers can go forward. We're going to turn the continuous ignitions on, just in case of an engine failure. Mixture's rich, all that's good. All right, sweet. We'll go ahead and clear these reversers, and we are ready to go flying, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go ahead and advance the power. You can see this thing just launches. It's almost overpowered in some regards. There we go. Takeoff power is set right there. Looks good. Kind of handle this baby on through here. Here comes our rotation speed right there, and rotate. A lot of pullback on the yoke to get it in the air. There it goes. And you can see how squirrely this bad boy is just right out of the gate. But we have positive rate gears coming up. We do have gear coming up. Woo-wee. Yeah, this thing bounces and dances around, and the tip tanks, they you can just see just how much the airplane rocks back and forth, and that is something you just have to get used to with the MU-2. It's pretty interesting. All right, so on our climb, we don't want to destroy these engines, so we're going to pull our condition levers back. We want about 96% or so. That's actually pretty good there. We want to get this on the bottom of the yellow there. That looks pretty nice. We have a nice climb out here happening. We passed 120 knots, so we can bring those flaps in. And continue to climb out here. That looks pretty good. Torque is pretty nice. Just double checking, doing some small housekeeping things here. And let's try to learn what they want us to do with this autopilot. We have an autopilot here. Well, let's fly up to our altitude and then we'll go from there. I think that's the best idea we've had all day. Once you get in the air like this, it's not too bad, but you'll notice that the airplane wants to roll to the right. That is a natural tendency of the actual airplane, and one of the people that was part of the development of this airplane is an actual MU-2 pilot, and they said it's exaggerated in X-Plane 11, but it's definitely there on the real airplane. So if you want to counterbalance that, you could just do some aileron trim to throw that sucker. I just used a little bit of left pressure on the yoke itself, and I don't have any problems. But look at the speed. We have 200 knots and we're climbing out at 2,000 feet per minute. Like I said, this thing is extremely slippery and unstable. So there's a reason why the MU-2, we used to call them MU-2s, I used to work on the ramp with the cargo variants of this airplane. They're a very dangerous airplane. I know I think it's killed a lot of pilots. It's always hearsay. Any kind of airplane that's got a bad rap usually has a little bit of a, fibbing to it. It's like, well, it's not that bad because they still fly them. However, I did know a 727 pilot that used to fly for Kitty Hawk Air Cargo when I worked for them. And I used to talk to him. He used to fly mail in an MU-2. And he was taken off out of Albuquerque, New Mexico. And he had an engine explode on takeoff. Actually explode. And he had to continue to fly. And the tower thought, there's no way this guy's going to make it back. And he just had it trimmed out. And he was working, flying the airplane first. That's what you do in a thing like that. And he was just like about 1,000 feet off the ground. And he came all the way back around to land back at the airport. And when he landed, the controller was like, "I'm so happy to see you land." He's like, "I really didn't think you were going to make it." And the MU-2s are known for that kind of stuff. So another fun fact is that when you're landing this airplane, a lot of MU-2 pilots will actually fly above the glide slope in case of an engine failure. Talk about people not wanting anything to happen to their engines. We're just going to climb up to about 10,000 feet here, and then we're going to mess with the autopilot, and then we'll start our descent down into Tampa. That is the idea. We're going to put this airplane through its paces, so you know what to expect if you fly it yourself. But man, this cloud deck is pretty thick. We're about to break through it. Yeah. About to break through it here. Get some nice views. We've got our outside view here. And you can see the sounds absolutely no difference from the inside and outside. What's that about? Oh, I made a boo-boo. I was supposed to retract those lights. Those probably would have gotten destroyed. Probably would have done some damage to them there. No problem. We need to track 342. So let's make a left turn to 342. I'm still dealing with that airplane wanting to roll to the right. So that's been fun. I'm still hand flying her. Here we go. About 342 there. That looks pretty good. And man, look at this thing pitching up. I mean, you can do 3,000 feet per minute at 200 something knots. That's pretty insane. In my opinion, the airplane's overpowered, but maybe it actually is. I would have thought the opposite of an MU-2. All right, we're breaking through the clouds finally. And now I can show you these wing views. Check that out. Well, not much to see as we're in the soup. Let's keep climbing. All right. Well, I'm kind of happy with 10,000 feet, actually. I'll do 10,500 or something. I want to mess with the autopilot system, try to get used to it. Can we click on this and pop it out? Doesn't look like it. All right, let's see what the autopilot will do here if we just turn it on. Autopilot engaged. Okay, maybe that's part of the airplane, that sound. The NBC sound. Can we do altitude, arm, and set cap at 11,000? That did work. That's nice. We have heading select here, so let's move that heading bug to here. Let's do heading mode activated. So we're going to be in the soup at 11,000 feet right now, or just kind of moving around these clouds up here. So that works pretty good. We have vertical speed if we want it, IAS if we want it. SBY, I'd imagine that's just standby. Back course. We can do an approach. We can do nav. Nav would be the GPS. Now, I don't know if it's going to actually pick up the GPS. Let's see if it does. We should be able to hit CDI here. So on VLOC now, we put on GPS mode. And now when we hit nav, it should bank to the right and capture this, or left and then right, and capture this. Let's see if it does. Yep, it's doing it. All right, cool. So we have a pretty good understanding of how that is. Ignitions, we're going to turn those off. We don't need those on anymore. Now this stuff here says LH outer fuel EMP. I don't know what any of that is. Really don't know what that is. Outer tanks are dead, maybe. That's why. Yeah, I guess there's not very much fuel in those. Maybe that's the problem. All right, we're at 11,000 feet. We're getting bounced around here. Just a few bumps here today. We're going to go ahead and let's try vertical speed mode. I'm not sure how we adjust that, but I assume it's something to do with pitch down here. Yeah, probably. Bring it down a little bit, maybe. I don't know what it's doing. There it is right there, vertical speed. Bring it back. No, maybe not. Doesn't seem like it wants to move. That's the problem I have. Okay, not a big deal. Let's go ahead and just kill the autopilot. We don't need that on any longer. And we'll just manually fly the airplane ourselves. Ooh, hello. Pull our power back here. And we'll start our descent into Tampa, which is right there. So we're gonna do a little bit of descending here. Look at that. We are freaking fast. Very, very, very fast, my friends. So we're going to make a left turn here. We're going to kind of go out wide, and we'll kind of snake our way down to Tampa. Got a nice 2,000 foot per minute descent here going. Let's look at Tampa's weather. Showing winds 290 at 8 knots. So out of the west at 8 knots, 10 statute miles of visibility, scattered 4,400. Altimeter 3002. So just a slight difference of what we've got here. We'll put on 3002. Right there looks good to me. And what do we got here? That's about it. So winds out of the west. And I believe these are north and south runways here at Tampa. Off to our right, actually, we can see. They're behind that cloud over there. So I'll double check that. We're still losing some altitude here. We're going to actually make a turn back towards the east. Like I said, we're doing some S turns to get our altitude down. Still descending here. I decided since it's only 8 knots, we're just going to land on runway 19 left. They do have a cross runway, which is directly into the wind, but it's only 8 knots. And honestly, I would like to do a crosswind landing in this airplane to see what that is like. We are basically over the bay right now, as you can see here to the left. That's the ocean over there. And then here's the big bay, and there is Tampa International Airport right there. So we're going to make a turn here to the right. And we're going to join a right downwind for the runway, actually. Or actually, you know what? Let's do a left downwind. I think that'll be a little bit better. For runway 19 left. As we get closer to the airport, we want to bleed some speed off. We will start to bring our condition levers fully forward. I mean, look at this thing. It's like holding 250 knots. Like you wouldn't believe an airplane like this could go as fast as it does, but man, it is quick. It is quite quick. All right, let's go ahead and bring those condition levers forward. And that looks good. We can turn those taxi lights on. We actually turn our lane lights on here in a second. Slowing this puppy up. It does slow it down quite a bit when you bring those condition levers forward. It's still a little fast. Don't want to bring those retracts down until we're like below 175, I think it is, or 150. One of those two things. All right, there's Tampa. It looks like there's a decent airport scenery for it, so that's good. Always love to see that. And when I hit the trim, you can see the electric trim when I'm using it right there. It actually is animated. That's actually pretty sweet. You can even see the cross runway there. It's a quite long cross runway. I just want to try because it's right there. You see it right there. But I want to try a crosswind landing, so we're going to do that instead. So coming on down in our altitude. Trying to get into pattern altitude here. All right, now we're getting closer to 175-ish. And we can join the left downwind for the runway. Pretty much right over where the stadium is. We're going to fly out that way and land. That is my idea here. So let's do that. Okay, retracts can come down. Let's start pulling up here a little bit. Get this baby nice and slow. Yep. This thing is very slippery. It just moves around. It dances around so much. It's crazy. Cabin altitude, not really worried about that. Fuel transfer switches are good. What else we got? Continuous ignition as required, so we'll turn those guys on. That looks nice. We are slowing the airplane down about 1,000 feet right now. Left downwind for 19 left right there. This is looking good. Still bleeding speed off. We get down to our pattern altitude around 800 feet, 900 feet here. So flaps 5 degrees below 175. So let's go ahead and go flaps 5. That looks nice. It's going to help slow us down. And we will do the landing gear as we pretty much shoot a pattern here. There we go. That's looking good right there. Landing gear can come down. And we can give a little bit of power here. All right, how's our landing gear looking? Down 3 green. Next notch of flaps, flaps 20. All right, let's start our base turn now. And you want to land around 140 knots here in this airplane. Well, not really. Remember what it is. I think it's a 120. Yeah, 120 is what the final approach speed should be. We're looking all right here as we make our left turn. A little bit more power than that. There we go. 800 feet. I'm going to use my electric trim quite a bit here. Try to get the airplane so I don't have to work so hard with it, you know? That's always nice when you do that. And we'll make our final turn now. Flaps 40. Let this puppy really slow down. Pull our power back. That's looking really good right there, about 120-ish. Not too shabby. And we're going to be a little high and a little to the right. But we're all right. Because the winds are out of the west and I wanted to try to roll off into a crab here. This looks pretty good. This feels about right. So with the airplane, what I'm doing is I'm keeping my power pretty much set. Not going to mess with it. And you pretty much fly this down to the runway in your flare. And then from the flare, you can just simply bring your power back ever so slightly and touch down. It's not a very difficult airplane to land. It's just very, it's got a lot of character. It moves around quite a bit. There's a middle marker for the ILS. A little low on that approach, up a little bit higher. There we go, back on the glide slope. Still looking good right here. There's the inner marker. Going over the runway now. Little right rudder, not very much. And remember, fly this puppy on down into ground effect, flare it, and bring our power back ever so slightly here. And we are down. Reversers can come out. Use some braking here as well to assist. And reversers can be clear here. We'll go back. Remember, I'm going to put them back in reverse because, yeah, I know it. You know how this thing can behave. Bring condition levers back. Come on, baby. Slow it down, slow it down. There we go. I don't know why those are not coming back and... Oh, there it goes with that. Oh, this thing is such a pain in the ass to taxi. It really is. If you pull those condition levers all the way back, it just goes rocketing on you. I had to ride the brakes there to prevent it from wrecking. Let's just go park over on the ramp on the right. Yeah, there's not much here at this airport. It's not a very detailed airport, unfortunately, for Tampa. It's just the Lego bricks, the ones that come with X-Plane. And whoever did this scenery on the scenery gateway forgot these signs here are just kind of hanging out in the middle. No big deal, right? All right, slow it down. Wow, that should have changed the sound of the engine when I pulled those condition levers back. And it's not doing that really much. All right. Back. Strobe can come off. We're almost to the ramp. And let's check out that landing. All right, taxiing in, we're gonna go ahead and just turn our lights off. We don't need these on anymore. Well, these are interesting. There we go. There we go. Yes. Yeah, we don't need all that stuff on right now. Bring these flaps up. We know where we're parking. We don't need the taxi lights on any longer. Gonna park right here on the ramp. No big deal. All right, and let's get ready for a shutdown. Shutting this down is a little interesting. It is a little interesting. I'll show you in a second here. Keep on going. We're almost there. Almost where I want to be. That right here will work. Let's go ahead and pull that parking brake right there. That's good. And let's do the shutdown. It is different. You have to put the airplane basically in a state of reverse. I know, very weird. I'm just getting my checklist out here. Just hang on a second. All right. Landing, shutdown. Parking brake is set. Cabin air selector is off. We didn't mess with it. Radio master switches can come off. There they go. All right. Power levers, ground idle. They are in ground idle. We'll just kill it right there like that. Look at it. Why is it moving? I pulled the parking brake and... Oh, man. Yeah, not a fan of that. Okay. They're ground idle. Run crank stop switches can go to the off position. And they are... off. You mean stop? Yeah, there we go. Oh, that kills the engines too. Okay. Or I think it did something there. I don't know what the hell it did. Off. Power levers move to reverse at 50% RPM. So we go reversers and then go to 50% of that, like that. And then you do generator switches off. Boom, boom. Inverter off, like that. Start selector switch can go to air start and safe, which it's in. It wasn't. I don't know why I was over there on the right. And that's pretty much it. Let's go ahead and kill the engines with the fuel. All the fuel comes off. That looks good. Beacon come off. And that is pretty much that with the MU-2 from X-Aviation. So some final thoughts. Ground handling, not fun. It's not fun. Sounds not good at all. Texture work isn't terrible, but it's not like groundbreaking or anything like that. This could use a little bit of updating, but unless they fix these, these problems, like these dummy switches, those need to be addressed so you can use that in the virtual cockpit. Because if you're using VR or something, you can't use your GPS, and that's kind of a pain in the butt. With that said, I mean, it's a beautiful, model. There's no doubt about that. Sounds just not the best, and all the other stuff that we went over. But anywho, that's going to be the first impressions of the MU-2 Marquise from X-Aviation. I'll see you guys next time. Take care.